Hello, Flosstube. Welcome to Homesteading on the Homefront. My name is Lynette. It is Friday, December 1st, 2023. However, I anticipate that most of my regular viewers will be attending the Jingle Ball this weekend, so I probably won't upload this until Monday. So welcome. Welcome to December. It's crazy for me to even think about. I last videoed on November 8th, so it hasn't quite been a month. But I had a free moment home alone, which never happens. Never. So I figured I would take advantage of it and film this and enjoy a little visit with you all. So let's get to it. I've been doing a lot of stitching since I last showed you. My first project is a start, a finish, and an FFO. Believe it or not. I talked about it in my last video about what I wanted to do. And so let me just show you there. It's not going to be pretty, and I don't know that you're going to be able to get the full effect. I'll show them to you individually. But this is my sugar cookie display with some beautiful sugar cookies. These are designed by Cute Patterns by Maria. I got them off of Etsy. And they're digital, so I don't have pictures for you of what they're supposed to look like, but I do have the finished objects. So we have the heart, the bell, the snowman, Christmas tree, and reindeer. Aren't they adorable? I love them. Now, these are, I think they're designed to be toys or something. So there's a mirror image design for the back if you wanted to stitch a back that is not exactly the same as the front. So what I might end up doing is stitching more of these next year and stitching the backs so that I have more sugar cookies in my display. But I was kind of done with the perforated paper. And it's not so much the perforated paper, it's the stitching with two strands that I do not like. But you have to do it if you're stitching on perforated paper, which I wanted to do for this project because I wanted them to kind of look like sugar cookies in my display. So these are done. Now in this magazine, which is January of 1998, I found this pattern, which I thought would be great. And so I stitched them up. I haven't finished them yet. It's just a matter of putting it, maybe I'll do that this afternoon. Just attaching the felt to the back and cutting it out. And I stitched these in the same colorway as the others so that they will match. Now you can tell that they're not quite the same. These just, they have more bling, and I wish she would. Maria has a set of gingerbread men and houses, but the gingerbread men are cutesy. They don't look like cookie cutter gingerbread men. Let's just put it that way. And these looked more like sugar cookies, right? So obviously these are more ornate. They're more detailed. They're, they've got highlights and stuff. And so I would love something like this designed by Maria. I'm not holding my breath. So anyway, I got about 3/4 of the way through this project when it was time to take out the cross-stitch ornaments for, decorating the trees and stuff. And what was right on top? This. I stitched this last year. in anticipation of this project, because I knew this was something I wanted to do. And I totally didn't even remember any of it. But it's okay, because you can see, well, maybe you can't so much see on camera, but these are quite a bit darker than these. And so they just don't look right in the display with the others. I think what I'll probably do is I will put them in with the others, but they will get covered. So it looks like the sugar cookies are stacked, I guess. I don't know. Anyway, that was the start, a finish, and an FFO. Yay me. Okay. I also have another FFO. It is on the same fabric as a whip, so we'll talk about that as we go. If I birthed you the first time, don't watch this. Okay, so my FFO is Nenny Design Crafts on Etsy. She has a bunch of gnomes with sports themes, and she did not have Yukon, but she did have the Buffalo Bills. And so I changed the red to gray, and instead of the Buffalo Bill thing, I just made a C. Now, my original plan was to do this again, and instead of gray, I would do orange. And instead of a C, I would do a big S for Syracuse, because we are anticipating in the next couple of weeks hearing back. If little one doesn't get accepted to Syracuse, there's a glitch in the matrix. So I wanted to make one for Syracuse. But stitching this gnome, there are like 3 colors in this beard, at least. There might be 4. And the symbols that she used are impossible to differentiate on a printout. And so I had to download the file to my phone and then zoom in order to stitch the beard. And it was a pain, and I'm not used to stitching from a device. I like stitching from paper. So I ended up, over Black Friday weekend, she had a sale, and I ended up buying another gnome chart that has much less of the beard. So I'm hoping that won't be an issue. So that was my second FO. It's not finished yet. Alongside the FO, we have the whip, which is the Good Yule gnome, or God Yule, or I don't know how to say it. If you're new here, I went to Sweden this summer and got to meet my mother's second cousin and her family. And, well, actually, several of my mother's second cousins and their families. And it was an amazing trip, because until about 2018, we had no idea that these people existed. My great grandfather came over from Sweden in the late 1800s and refused to talk about his time there. And so my grandmother didn't even know the name of her grandparents. But I found letters from my great grandfather's sister in the attic when I was cleaning out after my grandparents and my aunt and uncle died, who lived in the house. And I was able to find the family and determine that he had like 10 or 11 siblings. Most of them came over to the United States. The youngest stayed in Sweden, and the youngest was 3 years old when my great grandfather came over at the age of 19. So they really never knew each other. The youngest's name was Yurda, and we got to meet Yurda's grandchildren. It was amazing how much we had in common. But anyway, long story, half my heart was left in Sweden. And so I saw this gnome when I was looking at the football gnomes, and I knew I had to stitch it to commemorate the year that my mother and I went to Sweden. So this one is coming along pretty decently, and now that I've got, you can't really see it, but I've got all the white in here. So basically now it's less counting and more just filling in. The problem is that I cannot work on this on the weekends because usually eldest is home and I want to surprise her with this. So sometimes if she's sleeping late, I can get some stitches in on this in the morning, but usually not. But that will be, I'm hoping that will be done next time we visit. Another, I got to tell you about this one. Another FO is Donna Ray's quilt square that I designed for my friend Donna Ray. I needed to do the border, and okay, so here's a story. I'll tell you this story. The Concord Museum in Concord, Massachusetts has a special exhibit on display now through February sometime. And they are samplers and embroidery work, mainly from Concord. But if you don't know Concord, most of you do because of Lexington and Concord and the shot heard around the world. But it was the home of Henry David Thoreau. It was the home of the Alcotts. A lot of famous people had their base in Concord. And so the museum has these amazing stitches on display, one of which was Henry David Thoreau's grandmother. So that was very interesting. I learned a lot. We thank you, Ellen, who organized a group tour. I think we had, I don't know, 12 or 14 of us that met, and we were able to get a tour from the museum. Amy Gable Stitcher and I are chomping to reproduce some of these samplers. They're beautiful. We left our names. I don't know if I don't know if they'll get back to us, but some of these museums are really missing out on opportunities for fundraisers because the samplers are gorgeous. Anyway, I knew I was going to Concord that day. I had never been to Walden Pond before, and so I decided, it was a gorgeous day. It was beautiful. I decided I would do that before going to the museum. And I also know that Donna Ray, for those of you who are new, she is a stitching friend of mine, Flannel Jammy's Farm on Instagram and occasionally YouTube. I know that she loves Henry David, and so I took this with me and I put a few stitches on it at Walden Pond. So I did get it done. This border, either border, is no joke. Like, it's very easy, right? But it is a pain in the tuchus, and I can't tell you how many times I had to take out stitches. Anyway, this I designed to go along with the Farmhouse Christmas series. I have one more that is stitched and needs the green outline and the white. I am saving that for, I'm subbing in a few weeks. And so I'm going to save that to do in school because it's just a small, easy project. And once I get started on it, I don't even need the chart. It's easy to just count. And so I definitely want to have these two done by the end of the year. I have a couple more quilt designs, at least one more quilt design that I want to stitch, and then I plan to be done with this. But I will talk to you about that in the next video. All right, so that was one FO with Donna Ray's quilt. I also have a start, which is now a whip. So last year, I did basically a very full coverage, but small, Victorian Santa, because I love them. And I just loved having that to stitch on in December. And so this year, I decided I wanted to do the same thing. And I knew which Santa I wanted to stitch on. I had started him 2 or 3 years ago. I had started him, I think it was on either 20 or 22 count Ada. And it didn't work. I chose 20 or 22 count because I knew I wanted to use one strand and I wasn't sure 18 would do it. But it was so detailed that when I started kind of back stitching a sample, it didn't look right. So I put him on hold. This is what he looks like. He is from the 2001 Better Homes and Gardens Cross Stitch Christmas magazine. Now, this border is all stitched and back stitched. Not gonna do it. I am stitching Santa himself. I'm gonna do the tree. These are all half stitches. I'm gonna do this tree, but I'm not gonna do the green and blue border because no, why? No. And so I started him on 18 count, and I think 18 count is going to be okay. I'm only using one strand of thread, so he's going to not be nearly as vibrant as this one, but I am really loving him so far. Now, the plan was to start him on December 1st and stitch him monogamously until I was done, because I am not carrying this whip through to 2024. But I wanted to get him at least started. I wanted to get some stitches in to make sure that the coverage on 18 count was going to be okay, yada, yada. And then what happened was Eldest came home that weekend, so I couldn't work on the Swedish gnome. And so I just worked on, what are we calling him? Father Christmas? I think something Father Christmas. So I worked on Father Christmas, and his face took so much work. It's not even done yet. But what happened was, in fact, I'm going to show you. I'm going to show you the chart, part of the chart. And I don't know if you'll be able to tell, but basically from here to here, the symbols don't match the color that they're printed in. Like some of them got shifted 3 squares to the left or 2 squares left. And so it's a headache trying to figure out which stitch, which color goes where, because it might be a pink square with a triangle in it, but the triangle is a green color and the pink square should have had a dot in it, right? Thankfully, the rest of the chart seems to be okay. So I think once I get his face done, the worst is over as far as that's concerned. And the other thing that's great is these are just swaths of the same color, like his jacket. The basket will be pretty work intensive because it's going to be a lot of color changing, and his face is the worst part. So the rest of it, I think, will be okay. So my goal is to still stitch on it. I guess it's December 1st today. I'm not going to attempt to stitch on him while I am at the Jingle Ball because it's just too much work. And especially because I got so much done on him before now, I don't feel the pressure that I have to work on him to get him done. So I think for the Jingle Ball, I don't know what I'll be working on because I can't work on the Swedish gnome, which I'll find something to work on that is brainless for the Jingle Ball. And then probably on Monday, it's just going to be this guy because I love him. So those are my whips right now, which isn't a lot, but I don't usually have a lot of whips going at once anyway. But I do have some things I want to talk to you about. The first, this was a Save the Stitch that I got a long time ago. And I have not been able to find out anything like what chart this is, who the designer is. Google Images hasn't helped. If you know anything about this chart, please let me know. You all were exceedingly helpful with the last one that I posted in my last video, the woman that Grandma Lepper had stitched. It is part of a doorbell from Told in a Garden, and I was able to find the exact chart using the hints that you all gave me. So thank you. I'm not surprised at all that it was Told in the Garden. Grandma loved Amish country. They didn't live far from Ohio Amish country, and she stitched a lot of those things. So thank you for helping me there. If you could help me with this one, let me know. In fact, maybe I'll hold it up and it'll be my screenshot. All right. Talked about that. I have a list here of everything that I'm supposed to talk about. So now I want to talk to you about some creating that I've been doing that is cross stitch related, but not cross stitch. For the past couple of years, Walmart has sold these mini ornaments, and you can see they look like embroidery hoops. And every year they have something different inside here. But every year I've bought them, intending to make them into needle minders or whatever. And so this year, let me show you what I came up with. Isn't he adorable? This is Brenda Gervais chart, and I don't even remember the name of it. I just bought it at Randy's because I went to the World in Stitches before I went to Walden Pond and bought this chart there. And so I was going to make it into a needle minder, but the magnets that I just ordered in, they're the right diameter, but they're not thick enough. So they're not exceedingly strong. And these are some pretty thick ornaments. So I decided not to make it a needle minder. I decided to make it a bag pull or a zipper pull. So this bag holds all of my winter Brenda Gervais charts, except for the one that I just bought. Who knows where that is? We got this one, which I stitched last year. I think it's in here. I can show it to you. I didn't make it as a stocking shape. I just kind of cut it off here. And it's too big for an ornament, so I don't know what I'm going to do with him. But I didn't use all of the called for colors either. So they are all in this bag. And I plan to use the same colors on Frosty and Joy and Good Cheer and this guy. So it was very simple. Basically what I did was I bought the ornaments. Now, some of them you may have to paint. I'm not sure. Okay, because here's the story. I printed these out. It's about an 1.5 inch diameter. I printed these out, and then I had 1 3/8 circle. I think that's right. Either that or it's 1 3/4, and I had a 5/8 circle punch. But anyway, I printed them out on label paper. I stuck it over the image and cut it out, and then I stuck it over the image. And you can see there's a little white because my punch wasn't exactly big enough. I didn't care. I wasn't buying a new one. And then I did not do this one, but I did do this one. I don't know if you can tell the difference or not. I decoupaged, what is that called? Mod podged it. So this one is shinier than this one. I don't think you can tell on screen. But anyway, I decided to Mod Podge it just because I didn't know exactly how strong my label was going to be, but it's actually staying on there pretty good. If you don't have label paper, you could probably just print it out and cut it out and then glue it on. But I had the label paper, so it saved me a step. So I am loving this idea. And like I said, if I had bigger magnets, this would be a perfect needle minder. And you can customize it to whatever chart you're stitching, right? As long as you're not selling them, there's no copyright infringement. Another one of the Walmart ornaments that I had bought to make into a needle minder are just the simple snowflakes. And again, they're pretty thick. So the magnets that I just bought in aren't going to work. But again, it makes a perfect zipper pull. These are probably not happening until next year because my December is being taken up by Father Christmas. And then these are ornaments from Walmart, and they're kind of concave. So I don't think they'd make great needle minders, and they're pretty thick too. But zipper pulls definitely. And so I attached it to a lobster claw, and it can also be a scissor fob because it doesn't have a ton of weight, but it has some weight to it. So there you go. Then Joann's had their Black Friday sale, and I decided, okay, so a couple days prior to Thanksgiving, I was cleaning up the house as one does when you host Thanksgiving, and I found small stacks of past Christmas cards that I had saved because they were pretty and I wanted to do something with them. And so I cut them out so that I could make floss drops. And I hand punched the top hole and the bottom hole, and I used a corner rounder for my scrapbook days, and it took forever. And so Joann's Black Friday, I found this tag punch. And you can actually make 3 different width tags, all right? The underside looks like this. So if you put in a 1-inch strip, that's the tag you're going to get. If you put in an inch or whatever it is, a 2-inch, your tag's going to look like this. And if you put in a 2 1/4, your tag, the top of your tag is going to look like that. And so I went through and I made a bunch of floss drops out of old Christmas cards. And it was easy peasy because I cut it. I think it's a 2-inch. I think I used business card size. So it's like 2 by 3.5. So I just cut the width, put it in here, lined it up, punched. And then I had gotten, this is a 3/4 inch, I believe, a 3/4 inch punch for this part. I had a 1/2 inch punch, but I liked the bigger circles. It's easier to fit stuff in and out of. So now I can't wait to get Christmas cards, and I've already gotten a couple, and some of them are like, "Ooh, that's going to be a good flush drop." Um, and I'm switching over. I hadn't used a lot of flash drops, but the reason I decided that I'm going to start using them is that Amy Gable Stitcher convinced me. She pulled my arm real hard during the Black Friday sales, um, to order the double cases for DMC that will fit a complete set. And so now, you guys, I have been stitching since approximately 1984, maybe 1985. No, I think it was the fall of 1984. Sometime in there. It's many, many, many years, right? So I have accumulated a lot of DMC. I inherited my husband's grandmother's stash when she passed away. My neighbor in Virginia gave me her great aunt's stash when she passed away. Like, I have a lot of DMC that I have amassed over the years. But I got really frustrated a couple weeks ago when I don't know, I think it was the Gnome project I was trying to kit up, and I was missing a color. And I was like, how can this possibly be? How am I missing a color when I have so many DMC? And so I decided I would use the double case to assemble a complete set. And what I did was I went to Etsy, and I think for $1.30, I downloaded a spreadsheet that someone had made with all of the numbers and the names. It was the best $1.30 I've ever spent. And I just transferred from my boxes, because I might have 6 or 7 skeins or bobbins of one color in my boxes. So I took one from there and I put it in my master set. And so going forward, my plan is to use floss drops from my master set in order to kit up projects. Now, I was absolutely flabbergasted to discover that I was missing 60 colors. 60. That's a lot. Now, in fairness, more than half of them are the numbers that are under 200. So those are the new numbers that haven't been out all that long. But still, that means I was missing 30 colors from all of the DMC that I have amassed in the last 35 years. So my plan is that when I get my Michael's rewards, I'm just going to spend $5 and, get $5 worth of floss that I need. I'm actually probably going to save those lower numbers for last, because they're just not in the projects that I tend to stitch. So if I come across one of those that I need for a project, I will get it, but I'm going to concentrate on filling out my set of, the classic DMC numbers using Michael's rewards. That's my plan, because I'm cheap. Anyway, I think that is all I have to share with you. I do plan to be back with you some point during the month of December. Eldest will be home from school. Her last final is on the 15th. So she will be home, and of course, little one will be home for the week of Christmas. So I don't know when or where I will be back during December. I do know where, actually. I did make a stitching filling spot, so that I don't have to do it here. Usually my husband is working on the other side of this wall, and there's a door right there, an open doorway with no door that you can shut, which is why I cannot film when he's here. So I did make a stitching spot up at the other house, nice neutral background, not distracting. So I will be able to film there going forward. So my plan for the December video is to show you what I've done on Father Christmas. Hopefully show you a finished good Yule ornament. And then I want to talk to you about my plans for 2024. Or yes, 2024. I have been making them. I have stuff written down. I changed it last night. I didn't really change it. I just added to it, and I have been cementing what's going to go down for me in 2024. So I will share that with you when I come back. There will be no end of year whip parade because I'm carrying over 3 whips. I get nervous carrying over more than 3, so that's my number. The whips that I'm carrying forward are Live on Little, which I do not plan to touch until spring because to me it's a spring project. So, but actually, now that I mention it, there's a lot of fill-in on that would be great to do during the Jingle Ball. So I may be breaking my seasonal stitching preference and filling in Live on Little during the Jingle Ball. So Live on Little, Dutch Beauty, and At Home by Brenda Gervais. So those are the 3 that I am carrying over to 2024. Live on Little is definitely going to be done in 2024. I've already dated it. It's going to be Monogamous May. It's going to be every retreat I go to. I'm going to be filling in on Live on Little. Live on Little is going to be done in 2024. At Home, I think I can finish in 2024. It's not that big of a project. And once the house is filled in, it's not bad. Dutch Beauty is definitely not going to be done in 2024. I think that Dutch Beauty is going to get a lot of love during Sampler September. I loved doing Sampler September this year. So I think that's going to be my Dutch Beauty month. We'll go from there. I have absolutely no plans for Dutch Beauty, but anyway, I shouldn't be talking about plans because that's for the next video. So I hope to see you at the Jingle Ball, which will have passed by the time I post this. I will see you next month. Happy stitching, everybody.